We'll have a couple of slides about how the ChemAxon approaches the cloud, because that's a trendy thing nowadays. It has a lot of benefits, so on. So everybody knows this buzzwords, but we also work on this topic. So one of the products we have, let's say, or services we have in cloud, and it's running in production, that will be the topic of this talk. Let me just tell you something about the agenda. First of all, I'd like to clarify what Chemicalize means, so what we understand under this name Chemicalize. That's a service, by the way. The status where we are with this tool. Also the path, how we reached that state where we are. The values, or the benefits we try to give you using this tool, and what architecture do we use to support this service, which is a cloud service, so it requires to 24/8 service, and it has challenges. So I will go a little bit into detail, very high level, but some details. And also how we approach the future, what we use to try to find out the next best thing in this application. And obviously we use statistics for that. So that's the agenda. But first of all, clarify what Chemicalize is. And I would start rather with a question instead of the explanation. This is one question what we usually face from clients. It's not related to cloud, it's just related to any software vendor company. So price negotiation, discounts are always questions. We have other questions we face, like integration questions, APIs, about APIs. The updates, so the maintenance is also a question, like always. How fast we can provide the tools, the services, and the applications. User experience questions, how to use it, why it is so complex, so on and so on. Also, the licensing is a very important topic, because that's always a problem for users, not related to ChemAxon, just in general. And we believe Chemicalize is a response to this question. So that was one reason why Chemicalize was born, to try to respond to these questions in the past. And now let's give some more information or more insights about the Chemicalize, which is kind of definition. So it's an online search service platform using the chemical knowledge, chemical calculations of ChemAxon, plus all the naming and search technologies we have developed over this 21 year. And it's not even one, but it's two applications. One is we call Chemicalize, and the second we call Chemicalize Pro, which stands for Chemicalize Professional. So the main difference is that the Chemicalize is rather a user interface oriented application, which aimed for a different user segment. I will talk a little bit later. While Chemicalize Pro Professional is rather for more automated workflows. So about the current status, where we are right now, I won't read everything here because you can do that alone. You don't need me to read that. But I'd like to highlight a couple of things here. For instance, it's very important that's very automatic. So credit card payment is also implemented. So if you want to use this, you don't need to contact ChemAxon, you don't need to contact our team. You just go to the Chemicalize.com, select the subscription, pay, and then you are done. It's 5 minutes, not more. So that's very important, because this onboarding is very, very fast, including the learning curve. That's what I wanted to highlight here. And the journey, the path, how we reached that point. Everything started in 2011. That was the first. That was the first user interface, one of the first, maybe that was not the first, but one of the first user interfaces 11 years ago. Now it looks a little bit old, but at that time it was kind of very trendy and innovative. And then 1 year later, a new feature was added to the application, which was the web page annotation. Means you have a public web page on the internet, and we could annotate the chemistry within this application. And there were other ideas like chemical or physical, let's say chemical property calculations, and the search tools we have in ChemAxon was also integrated. And then there was a little bit of time when we didn't add new features, but 5 years later in 2016, we thought we should repurpose the whole application a little bit. So that's why we relaunched a totally new Chemicalize, and 2 years later also the professional version, which is for a different user segment. Of course, we think we provide you value, and we provide you benefits. That's why you start using it, or not just you, but all the users. And there are also very important things here I'd like to highlight. First of all, the latest and greatest versions available. That means it's hidden in that sentence, but it means also that you don't need to care about licensing at all. So you don't even meet the license. But you can be sure always everything is licensed, because it's a subscription, everything is the latest, and it has compatibility to the backward compatibility, but you will always use the last one. So you don't need to care anything about the IT. And that's also the next slide, so it's also very important. Related to the ChemAxon tools, you will not have any IT costs at all, because it's managed by us, since it's a paid service. It's also important to highlight that you don't pay for every day, even if you don't use it. So if you use, you pay. If you don't use, you don't pay. So that's very simple. So in many cases, it's more beneficial than buying a yearly license. Of course, it depends on the context a lot. And now a little bit more clarification, because I mentioned the Chemicalize and the Chemicalize Professional. So I mentioned the Chemicalize is rather user interface oriented, and the features are rather user features which are more visual, let's say, and also the user segments are different. So with the Chemicalize, we rather aim the academia, individuals, consultants, maybe, and these are the most users are coming from this segment. While the Chemicalize Pro is rather for catalog companies, for instance, integrators, other service providers, and the users are rather developers or integrators. I have no chance here to show you a public or a demonstration, live demonstration, because it's a presentation. But if you go chemicalize.com or pro.chemicalize.com, you can find it. But I will show some screenshots about the tool. The Chemicalize is looks like this one. It's a calculation feature, let's say, and it's hidden here. But just in this feature on this screen, we are using 3 different ChemAxon tools to provide you the calculation. One is the naming technology, so you can put here any names, smile string or any systematic or trade names. That's where we use our naming technology to recognize. You can also draw, where we use the Marvin.js, and also we do the calculations, and the calculators. This is what we are using here. The next one is a structure search, where we also introduce a new technology, which is the Postgre cartridge, doing the chemical search for you. And also we have also document search feature, which does chemical search in mostly US patents and Wikipedia documents. And we have web page annotators. That's the same what was released, or very similar, that was released in the previous version of Chemicalize. A public website can be annotated with chemical entities. And the compliance checking, which you already know what it means. And we have a user interface for that, where you can do this compliance checking one by one, so for every compound on a visual interface. And also we have chemical drawing functionality with image export. So it's possible here to export these images in various formats for various publishers. For instance, that is a very popular feature. And for the Chemicalize Professional, we also have a lot of features just to highlight the most important ones. The hosted catalog search, what was created mostly for catalog companies. And if you just don't consider the left pane and the header, then only the content area remains. And to reach that, to show this content area, this one, including the query and the results in your website, it's couple of, let's say, 5 lines of JavaScript and HTML code. So it's very, very easy to integrate. It doesn't need any IT knowledge to start with, and you will get this nice looking, let's say, feature on your website as well. We have the chemical drawing, which is similar, just the Marvin.js editor can be used there, and we have compliance checking API. That's for those companies who doesn't want to do, let's say, 200 compounds one by one. They can do it through an API, and it's much faster. And also, I would say it's faster and maybe a little bit cheaper. It depends on a lot of things, but for sure it's more automatic and requires less time from the client. The calculation API is rather, it's the same as the compliance checking, but for calculations. You can run more calculations through an API. It doesn't provide a user interface for that, but you will have the inputs and you will get JSON object as output. We have a couple of clients. However, as you have seen, the Chemicalize Professional was just started a year ago, roughly. And we also have clients, not just these 3, I can say that, but we agreed with these 3 clients to show them as references. So I think they must be satisfied with this feature. And just as importantly, we also have internal clients, internal applications, which are using our Chemicalize functionality, like Zosimos, the Marvin.js is coming from the Chemicalize Professional. And now about the architecture, it will be very high level, so it won't be that hard to understand. There are a lot of challenges. You know, this service, online service, must run all the time, so it brings a lot of challenges to the table. High availability, maintainability, everything ends with Y. So all the words can come here ending Y. But what this year's topic is the superheroes. That's why the superhero is here. But what would a superhero do to fulfill these needs? And the IT superhero most probably would use microservices, just like we do. And on top of the microservices, we do a lot of other things as well, not only microservices, but we have a very detailed alerting and monitoring system, a lot of logs, automatic backups, permission, right management, and also detailed release and upgrade management. For the operation, I just listed a couple of technologies we use in the application. Let's say we have everything hosted in the Amazon cloud using containers, but we're using different database technologies like Mongo and Postgre with our Postgre cartridge, and Spring on the backend side, React front end, so on, so on. Plus, I'd like to show you a very, very, very high level request flow, I would say, how we serve the needs or the request coming from the client's browser. So the client, in this case, wants to run a calculation here. We have 3 services running, server instances running at the same time, and it starts, the user starts a calculation from the browser, and the request arrives to our virtual private cloud, and then that's the gateway which authenticates the user. So if they have the right, the user has right to do this calculation, then we redirect them to the calculation service itself, one of the calculation services. But the calculation service won't do the work immediately. It will first check if the user has subscription for this feature, and if yes, then the rest is very easy, because we are just building up the response and sending it back to the users. And the future, something about the future. I show you this picture, which for the first sight has nothing to do with an application. I will tell you how we think it's related. So for instance, suppose that you ask this gentleman here how sure he's able to drive a car. And maybe he would answer that, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can drive. You can see I'm sitting here, I can drive. Maybe from the outside, you can see something different. And that's a problem, because it can be this guy is a better driver than me. And in brackets, I have a driving license. So you don't know from the outside. This is what I would like to say. We can judge, but it all means that we have bias. So everything is biased. And if you develop something, the best thing what you can do to avoid your bias, predicting the future. And that's why one tool is the statistics. And in our case, we are very, very, very lucky because we have a lot of users. We know the users. They are very close to us, so we can do a lot of things, including collecting statistics and user behavior. Sorry. And I also must emphasize here, all the statistics are anonymous. So we don't know anything about the users. We don't know anything about the privacy of the users. We just collect, let's say, the behaviors, how many of them opened the pages, so on and so on. So just very, very shortly, because the time is over. We have kind of a lot of statistics. Here, maybe the trend is important, that we have a quite linear trend in the number of registered users. This is the hosted catalog search I showed you, and that started roughly a year ago, but it started to take off, you can see, so it's also very promising. This is the word, yeah, obviously. And the darker blue is the more users from that area. So you can see we pretty much cover the whole world. There are some, let's say, parts which we have more users from. That one is kind of interesting. Here, the rest is somehow expected. And also we should have good reputation, even in social media, because we don't have any marketing, any campaigns in social media, but still we time to time come up. I mean, the Chemicalize come up in social media channels, which are not originated by us at all, and they come to Chemicalize through a social media channel. We have also very nice, this is the Hotjar, by the way, if you know that, visualization of the most, let's say, hot points of the most used points of the sites. We have a lot more, just these were maybe the most interesting ones. And I'm done, thank you. And I'd like to thank you, the team, who made it possible to the audience and to you. Thank you.